Mr. Ed Broderick, a former trustee. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Four 4.01, motion to open public hearing. Motion, second. Marie, all in favor? Unanimous? Peggy?
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby open the public hearing on the partial tax exemptions for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers at this time.
Motion. Marie, second. Cicero, all in favor? With that being said, 4.02, Mr. Randall, we have Ms. Stacy.
Good evening, Board of Education and Community. We are here this evening to conduct the public hearing on the partial tax exemption for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers for those individuals residing in our district. We learned about this late January, about the opportunity, and the board was willing to have the public hearing and move forward because there are certain requirements that have to happen prior to any action being taken by the Board of Education. So Chapter 670 of the Laws of 2022 was recently enacted, which allows for all local governments, including school districts, to provide a partial tax exemption to volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. This new law grants school districts the option to provide a tax exemption of up to 10% for these individuals of the assessed valuation of their primary residence after meeting specific criteria as approved by either town, village, or the school districts. To qualify for this exemption, Wappingers must hold a public hearing with at least 5 days' notice. We are meeting that criteria this evening. To enact this partial exemption for the 23-24 school year, the Wappingers Board of Education must take action prior to March 1st of 2023. We would have to, if approved, then share this information with the local municipalities by March 1st. If the exemption is enacted, the eligible volunteers would then apply for this exemption with their local tax assessor's office. At this point in time, we are proposing to establish a minimum service requirement of 2 years of service to qualify for the 10% exemption. The law did offer 3 different years of service. The district did opt to go with the lowest for qualification purposes at 2 years of service. We're also proposing that volunteers with more than 20 years of active service retain that 10% exemption for the remainder of their life as long as they reside in their primary residence within the school district. That is an additional piece of the legislation that, again, we thought was important to offer to our community members who do serve in this volunteer capacity. Wappingers is also proposing that the lifetime exemption may be extended to unremarried spouses of volunteers that are killed in the line of duty who had been a member of the fire department or the company or the ambulance service for at least 5 years and were already previously receiving the exemption. Again, an add-on to the legislation that we felt should be included in our resolution. And we're also proposing that the exemption be continued or reinstated for unremarried spouses of a volunteer who had accrued at least 20 years of active service and was receiving the exemption prior to their death. Again, another add-on. I was able to participate in a meeting put together by the Town of Poughkeepsie Assessor's Office, having conversations about what this exemption meant and what local municipalities, local districts were doing. It was a little bit different in the Poughkeepsie area as they have a paid fire service. We have a larger volunteer fire service over our 7 municipalities. So the public hearing at this point in time, we will be answering any comments that we can. We also encourage anybody who has any questions to utilize wcsd.comments at wcsdny.org. We will answer any questions within 48 hours up until the next board meeting. At this point in time, we plan to have on the February 27th Board of Education meeting a resolution with regard to this legislation and exemption. Thank you.
Alberta, is there any public input at all?
First, the board should have discussion.
What'd you say?
Discussion.
Oh, you're right. Are there any questions on the part of the board? Yes. Eddie?
I'm not sure, Ms. Crandall. I don't know.
It's okay, no worries, I'll answer.
Kristen, I'm sorry, no,
Yes.
Assistant Superintendent. I know you may not have this information. I'm not sure if it's something we could put together because we don't know. Obviously, we have a large district and it encompasses the 7 municipalities. And some of the municipalities have multiple firehouses within the jurisdiction. Do we have any idea what an estimated the cost would be to us, and also how? I'm just off the top of my head. Let's just say there's less than 1,000 volunteers throughout, and not sure if every single one of them would qualify. So let's just say, I don't know. I'm going to say 25% would qualify. Any type of just some numbers that.
So here
So everyone knows if this is something that we're going to pass, as we did several years ago with the veterans exemptions that we put in place, just to have an idea cost-wise what the difference is going to be.
Certainly. So just to start, in the calculation that we do for our annual taxes, we have a paid firefighter and clergy exemption. That equates to $9,000 total. So that's a $9,000 exemption for everybody who has applied, number one. So when you take that and disperse it over 7 towns, it's absolutely nothing. We did receive a public comment asking us about, it's great that you want to offer this. However, what does that mean for all the other municipalities? So the process to figure out how many volunteer firefighters reside in the district would go through each of the fire companies. We would try to compile a list. But then we run into, do they live in an estate situation? Do they rent? Are they 18 and are still a student? So to come up with an estimate at this point in time, that's not something that we can easily do. The important piece that we want to remember is that it's a 10% of your assessed value valuation. So if your average home is in a non-post-pandemic realty market, $350,000, and it's a 10% adjustment, so that would be 3,500. Divide that by 1,000, or because it's $1,000, for your rate, we're talking truly pennies. Even if you had 250, again, spread out over 7 towns.
Right. So just so everyone's aware, it's kind of I don't want to say insignificant because
Correct.
It's money and it's
spread out.
It's people's money, but it's spread out. And in my opinion, if it's cost me $5 or $10, personally, I don't have an issue with that. I just think it's good that the public knows.
Correct.
That, especially the seniors, like, oh my God, it's another exemption. It's not, for instance, a different exemption. What is this going to cost?
Correct. And I wish I could quantify it better for you,
I know
but
that
I
you can't,
can't
but I
do
just
that
think
at this time.
explaining it so
Sure.
that the community understands, what the variables are, and not to say, well, it could be $1, it could be $100, but just to be aware that, not knowing exactly how many people are going to qualify, giving a rough idea, whether it's $5 or $10 or $1, the community should at least know that. So
It's
thank you.
also, you're welcome. It's also important to note that it does fall in the responsibility of the volunteers to apply for this exemption. I'm not quite sure, and the assessors and receivers were not quite sure as if it had to be every 5 years they needed to renew, if they need to renew every year, but that would be handled at the town level, and the district would then just receive the information during the tax preparation period in the summer.
Peggy?
Granted that the clergy exemption is claimed by very few. The veterans exemption that we passed several years ago, about how much is that?
I will have to get back to, I don't have that number off the top of my head. And we just amended that for the upcoming school year, remember, to reflect the a more reasonable income standard. I can get that information for you.
Cheryl?
Yes, you said that some of what you were proposing was an add-on to what the basic bill that was passed was. Do you have any information on how that correlates to what's being offered in the municipalities that make up the school district? So I'm
So it
looking in terms of
aligns.
confusion, so that if it's one set of rules for the school district and another set of rules for their town.
So that's a great question, and it did come up during our conversation with the town of Poughkeepsie, because the FASNY, which is, I believe, the unit that was helping to pass and get this legislation in place, really, from what, again, I have small window of information here, what the individual from the town of Poughkeepsie was saying was that getting it aligned and getting the most that we possibly can to benefit these volunteers is the best case scenario. So if a school district and a town and the village can do everything in alignment, then that's wonderful, because it does reduce that confusion and it maximizes the benefit available to those volunteers. So in looking at that, we reached out to some local municipalities, didn't get a lot of information back. Again, this is a very short turnaround that they provided with us. There are districts who are waiting till next year to try to do this. We were trying to take advantage of the situation, and if we needed to amend, we did ask the attorneys, we could always make amendments if we needed to going forward. So there is that option.
Anybody else? I would like to read 2 letters the board received on this particular issue, if I may. Hello, Robertson Central School District. I'm happy to see the district considering a property tax break for volunteer firemen and ambulance workers. I think it's a great idea, especially given the unpaid services these individuals provide to our community. The second letter, if I can find it, the second letter, but I can't find it right now, basically stated that a lot of people in the community that volunteer, and they don't get paid. They obviously don't get paid. Why are we extending this particular benefit to the ambulance workers as well as the other group? So she was opposed to the particular break. Obviously, it's 2 different points of view. The board will have to make a decision, as we did years ago in regard to the veterans. So at this point, the superintendent wants to say something. So go right, Doc.
Thank you, President Lumia. My feeling on this is that this should be supported wholeheartedly. Clearly, in this day and age, our first responders and emergency service providers have been a lifeline with what we've had to deal with over the years. Obviously, it's very difficult to find people to volunteer for this type of work. Again, I think that any break that we can give them to say thank you for your service would be greatly appreciated, and I would encourage the board to support this. And I think, as Trustee Soloshower indicated, Ms. Dainty, you said it somewhere, potentially $5, $10 more a year. I think it's well worth it for the services that our emergency services and volunteer firefighters provide. Thank you.
Mr. Morgan?
Thank you, President Lumia. If the if the estimation that we're throwing around $5 to $10 per household that's not volunteering, that's not eligible for the 10% offset, were to instead not to provide the offset, but have to support through property owner taxes a paid fire department, the $5 to $10 would be gladly paid and surrendered, because the work, sometimes literally taking their lives in their hands, the work that these volunteers do greatly benefit our communities, the entire Wappinger Central School District community, and harkens back to maybe a simpler and friendlier time when the golden rule was widely followed, and when communities pulled together to help people in need. So there's that aspect of it, and there's clearly an economic benefit to having volunteer fire departments within the Wappinger Central School District community. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other comments? All right. At this point, are there any comments from the community? John. Thank you. Mr. Tesla, East Fishkill.
Skip Fila. I live at 34 Marion Avenue, Wappinger Falls, New York. And I'm a member of the East Fishkill Fire District. In the year 1986, a call went out for help, looking for volunteers in Dutchess County to help both fire and EMS. I joined the East Fishkill Fire District in 1986 and have been an active member since then. Right now, 2 days a week, 6 hours each time, I roster on the ambulance. But of course, it's getting harder and harder to get volunteers. So as it happens, there's 3 or 4 calls a week. We could use additional time from you. I am retired. I'm a disabled American veteran, and I'm also a senior citizen. But I answered the call for help when the time came. Now I'm asking for help. I'm asking for help because it's getting harder and harder to roster on the ambulance. It's become very expensive to operate in the state of New York. And as is the case, many members have decided to move on to other states like Florida, where taxes in some cases don't exist. So when the call went out in 1986, I was there to help. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, when my pager goes off, if the call is in my area, I respond. I respond to your call from help. Now I'm asking for help. What I'm asking is that you could please consider this exemption, as small as it is, 10%. Every little dollar helps, and it'll keep me here in the state of New York dedicating my time to the East Fishkill Fire District. Thank you.
Chris Jaslowski. Okay, Manny.
Good evening.
Go ahead, Manny, go ahead.
My name is Emmanuel Marinado. I'm a councilor.
Is the mic on, please?
Can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead.
And I'm here tonight to support volunteer fire department. I'm also a volunteer myself, joined the department to really see firsthand what these people do day in, day out. They are very dedicated individuals. The reason I'm stopping over here tonight is also to realize the amount of tax dollars that they save our communities and the great service that they do for our community. The training that these people, these women and men do every day is incredible. The amount of hours they put in, it's behind sacrifice. They should have been here asking or begging for this resolution to be passed. We should be proud to do even more I have spearheaded programs where I reach out to the state. They definitely deserve more than a handout. So please, let's not even have a discussion. I want to thank you for your time, and let's give a round of applause to these people. They really deserve it.
Chris Kozlowski?
President Lumia, just one question. The reason that we're having this discussion, though, is because by law, we're required to have it, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's absolutely correct.
Thank you.
We
Thank you.
required to have a public hearing, and as we had indicated, the resolution plans to be for the review and approval at the board of the February 27th meeting.
Thank you.
Chris?
My name is Chris Jodlowski. I'm with the East Fishkill Fire District Board of Fire Commissioners. Coincidentally, our meeting is tonight, and our board is discussing this very topic with regard to our fire tax. But I left the other 4 members here to come represent the fire district and the Board of Fire Commissioners, and I have a statement on our behalf. You may be wondering why, with nearly 250 active members in the East Fishkill Fire District, we don't have greater representation here this evening. Monday, as it happens, is the night most of our companies hold meetings and training. Right now, dozens of our volunteers are spending their evening free time actively training the kinds of emergencies we see every day. Ironically, one of those stations is training at the Fishkill Plains Elementary School in a drill called Large Area Search in the event, God forbid, we need to find people like students in a large building like a school. Last year, the entirely volunteer core of the East Fishkill Fire District answered 2,840 calls for service in what amounts to the largest area of the Wappinger Central School District. That's roughly 1 call every 3 hours all year long. In fact, 38 of those calls were to facilities belonging to the Wappinger Central School District. 38 times our volunteers responded to calls for automatic fire alarms, set off by everything from faulty detectors to workers in the building, mischievous students, and actual smoke conditions for a variety of reasons. For students and teachers who fell ill during the school day, and for injuries at games and practices, 38 times, about once each week during the school year. We did it last year, we'll do it this year, and we'll do it again next year. And those volunteers do this and more selflessly. They don't ask for anything in return. They would not ask for anything in return, and so I'm here to ask on their behalf. It's important to understand what this tax exemption means by the numbers, and I believe this will answer some of your questions. And this is just in regard to East Fishkill. To offer 10% exemption to volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers does not in any way affect the budget of the school district. That of our 238 members, considering multiple members in some households and some members not being the primary owner of their residence, we estimate roughly 100 households will receive the actual exemption in our fire district. But then that in households that do have multiple members, the fixed cost of this benefit has a ripple effect. That yes, this does shift some of the burden to other taxpayers, but distributed amounts to what we estimate to be an additional $2 for East Fishkill for every other household in the school district. That every year it becomes more and more difficult to recruit volunteers, and if our fire district ever had to become a paid fire district, those same taxpayers would see an increase at a rate as much as 5 times what they currently pay in fire tax, from a few $100s a year to well over $1,000 a year or more per household. As it is seemingly popular to state support for our first responders, a yes vote on this tax exemption is tangible evidence, as well as an important message to future prospective volunteers that they too will be valued. And so from one board to another, I urge you to help our volunteers, to help our citizens, and to help protect the students and the faculty at your school district, and vote in favor of this tax exemption for our first responders. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. On behalf of the board, I want to thank all the volunteers for their work, and in some cases putting their life on the line. I'm sorry, Peggy?
Yeah. I'd like to add to what Mr. Morgan said before about the cost of paid as opposed to volunteer fire departments. In the town of Poughkeepsie, which I live in, some of the departments have paid firemen and firewomen. And I'm fortunate enough to be in the New Hamburg Fire District. We have volunteers. The difference in my taxes and the taxes in the areas that have paid fire districts and to fire employees is astronomical. So it's far, far more than the cost of this tax exemption.
Chris, I'd like to thank you for the data you provided. All right, any other comments? All right. I want a motion to close the public hearing. Marie, second, Cheryl, all those in favor? Unanimous. 5.01, public comments on agenda items. Please sign up in front if you can. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to list the public comment. Although state law does not require us to hold a public comment period, we chose to do so because we believe it's crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns and issues. The board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed to be a debate or dialogue. Please do not expect the board to respond to your concerns and questions tonight. We take concerning questions seriously and want to have sufficient time to process and research issues if need be. Any questions from the public should be submitted to the use of the public comment form, which may be obtained online or at the desk with the district clerk. We will have the appropriate staff member get back to you as appropriate and as soon as possible. I also want to point out that under state and federal privacy laws, we are unable to address any comments or questions about specific students or school personnel. We would ask you to go to the appropriate administrative channels. A total of 30 minutes at the beginning of each board meeting is set aside to allow for public comments on agenda items only. Public comments at the beginning of the meeting is limited only to the items in the agenda. Persons who wish to participate in the public comment period of the meeting are asked to provide their name and specific agenda items on which they want to speak. A sign-up sheet is located at the desk, in the front of the desk with the district clerk. Individual comments on the agenda items are limited to 3 minutes and are welcomed. If you wish to address items that are in a school district that are not on tonight's agenda, another comment period is provided at the end of the meeting for that purpose. A second sign-up sheet is available for non-agenda items. In the interest of civility and respect for different points of view, clapping, booing, and any disturbance or disruption during either public comment period is not permissible. At this time, are there anyone who signed up for comments on the agenda? Seeing none, 6.01. 5.02, communication announcements received by the Board of Education. Marie?
You knew I was going to come up with my tour of the last 2 weeks. I would like to say I want to thank Dr. Schnelly. No, not Schnelly. Jason Shelton. Oh, Shelton, yes, from Dutchess County BOCES. He allowed all of the different districts to be able to come and tour the new Dutchess County BOCES facility, and we were able to get in there and see some of the wonderful work in the new special ed and CTI section over at Dutchess County BOCES. Trustee Miggets and I have been making our rounds yet again. We are almost through. We had some senior nights for Royce C. Ketchum girls and boys basketball and John Jay High School basketball for the boys. And it was great to acknowledge all the seniors that are graduating this year. And coming up, we have a preview of from Miss King on our fine and performing arts section. And we have already kicked off our musicals for elementaries, getting to see Aladdin Jr. over at Gayhead. And I have to say, I'm jealous, and I really feel like that is the best school to start out the plays for our elementary, because they were phenomenal. And then just this past Friday, we were able to go to John Jay High School's talent show, and there was a lot of John Legend, and it's a wonderful thing because I love John Legend and his music. So it was really great to hear all the talent over there, and the step dancing was phenomenal, and she did something I could never do. They had I guess it was like Irish step dancing. It was beautiful.
And then I would like to congratulate some of our gymnastics. We went to sectionals. Emma Dwyer, Shannon Fitzpatrick, Samantha Guarno, Samantha Bethel, and Julia Volk. Emma Dwyer is going to be heading to states on the beam. She placed 4th on the vault, 6th on the floor, 6th on balance beam, and 5th all around. And Samantha Guarno did 9th on the floor. So, and I know that all 4 of our varsity basketball teams are in the playoffs. So those will be starting up the end of this week. And it'll be great to see everybody out there for those as well.
Peggy?
Mr. Lumia and I also toured the new BOCES facilities. It's really a beautiful building, and it has all sorts of opportunities for our students. The Dutchess County School Boards Association had a meeting that also heard about the Mid-Hudson Study Council. I participated with with other members, Kelly Lappin, the executive director of the School Boards Association, Jason Shedelik, the superintendent of BOCES, and Gully Sanford, a member of the BOCES board, in a panel discussion sponsored by the American Association of University Women about school board service. And I would encourage people to run for the school board. It is an opportunity for service. Thank you.
Cheryl?
Yes, I also took advantage of the invitation to tour BOCES and see the new construction and the expansion of their programs. As Trustee Johnson said, we've been spending a lot of time at basketball games over the past few weeks. And one very happy moment that I've had is I've looked forward since those of you who have been on the board longer approved the charter for the STEP team at RCK High School. And just before COVID. So I had the opportunity at basketball games this week to see them perform 3 times and speak with them and their advisor, Ms. Bell. They have done a wonderful job on their choreography and just work together very well as a team. In addition to the high school sports, I came here 2 weeks ago to see the junior high wrestling team compete against Mahopac. And then last week I was over at Van Wyck for the Wappingers Junior High Van Wyck game and saw 2 very closely matched teams play. Trustee Johnson and I spent our Saturday morning at basketball this week. And then yesterday I went to Arlington for the boys wrestling sectionals, joined Mr. Lumia, who was there all day on Saturday as well. I'm going to allow him to give congratulations to the individuals. I've got the list, but I know you do. I do want to congratulate our teams, though, because with 30 teams competing at sectionals, the John Jay team finished 8th overall with 74 team points, and the RCK team finished 17th overall with 46 points. And I also want to talk about community, because when I first joined the board, I said that I was very happy to see how all of these opportunities for our students had opened up and gave us more chances to rebuild community and connect. And just a couple of little snippets that I noticed over the past couple of weeks. When I came here to the junior high wrestling match, our students and the Mahopac students were so supportive of each other, and it was just a great atmosphere of sportsmanship. And that's exactly what I saw when I went over to Van Wyck. I saw a lot of staff involvement with our students, and our students having a wonderful rivalry that was all positive. And then I also want to say I was very honored yesterday I did go over and introduce myself and meet some of the John Jay families who were at Arlington, but I sat most of the time with the Mosh, Corporan, and Bautista families, and I was amazed at the camaraderie and sportsmanship there. Our RCK wrestlers and their families cheered for our John Jay wrestlers, and the opposite happened when the RCK wrestlers were out. They were cheering for their friends in the league that they have known through wrestling. They were cheering for the wrestlers of the people who were sitting around us in the stands that they were forming relationships with. They were applauding all of the great wrestling, no matter where the wrestlers came from. And it was just a very, very positive experience. Thank you.
Anyone else? Jim?
Thank you, Mr. President. So last week was the Association of Nutrition and Food Service Professionals Pride in Food Service Week. So I just want to acknowledge all the food service workers in the district and thank them for their diligent service in delivering food to our students, teachers, and faculty. So thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else? John?
Thank you, President Lumia. We recently concluded school counselor recognition. I see Dr. Bonk nodding, so you might have something to say on that. So I'll just lucky.
We'll wait for that. That's a
lucky guess. I did want to mention that it's rewarding to put in the volunteer work that Ms. Kellen referenced on the board and celebrate the successes that our students and the staff that supports them have. Because there's hard work that goes into the school board, and it's nice to celebrate the victories. And on that note, I wanted to recognize the John Jay Science Olympiad team. They will be going to the States, but not before this Saturday morning. They meet sometime between 3:30 and 4 o'clock on Saturday morning to get on a bus to go down to the University of Pennsylvania. So anytime we send a group of district students off to an Ivy League school while they're in high school, I think that's noteworthy. So both congratulations and good luck to the John Jay Science Olympiad team. Similarly, the John Jay Future Farmers of America, which is a program that's done very well in the last couple of years, also deserve recognition for their great competition performance. We think of athletics when we think of competition, and of course, I want to join Trustee Johnson, who illuminated the names, and I think we've got somebody that's headed to States in the audience this evening, who may be looking at her phone and trying not to call attention to herself. But congratulations to some of the Wappingers gymnasts, including one of our 8th grade students who just stood up and competes at the varsity level. Good luck. Similarly, we've got a wrestler from Royce Ketchum that Cheryl just spoke about going off to state competition this coming week. We've been fortunate to be invited to the John Jay French Honor Society induction ceremony, and similarly the Royce Ketchum Math Honor Society induction, which will be at 2:45, which means I'm going to have to cut a lunch meeting short, but I'm happy to do that. So thank you to all of our students, all of the staff that supports them for the successes that they have, that makes us keep up a positive attitude when we're going through some of the things that we go through as board members and deliberate on that are far less pleasant. Thank you for your time.
As has already been mentioned, congratulations to the John Jay Olympia team for taking home first place trophy. In addition, the ABC team won 23 events, including 10 first place medals and 31 overall medals. The team will compete, as already been stated, at the state tournament, March 17, 19. Let's give a shout out to the John Jay coaches, Leah Miller, Jessica Morsi, and Ian Friedman. Congratulations to the Future Farmers of America for a big win in District 2 leadership development event. 4 students moved to the sub-state competition, namely Jenna Franco, Hugo Pacheco, Ari Beckwith, and Ingrid Pena Fajardo. Excuse me for mispronouncing them. Congratulations to all the performers of the Play Aladdin performed the Gayhead. Everyone was great. In particular, I want to mention a young man who played a genie named Nicholas Arshanusi, as well as Aladdin played by Julian Hist, and Princess Alessandra played by Alessandra Geljudis. These kids were incredible. When I say incredible, that kid Aladdin was, he was a little kid, you see. He was phenomenal. Van White Junior High School as well as John Jay High School are going to be very happy to get these kids eventually. A special thanks to Director Eileen Scalfani, Musical and Vocal Director Shannon Banda, Production Advisor Medra Amato, and Choreographer Nicole Nasso and Kirby Scalfani. So again, Van Wyck as well as John Jay are going to be very fortunate to have these kids. The district will partner with the Winter Circle Project to provide students with a learning opportunity to build a race car. Both RCK and John Jay teachers will attend the necessary training to begin implementing this course of study in September. I'm looking forward to observing that particular model being built. And once they build that model, they'll sell it, and the money that they're going to get, they're going to go for the next year, which is really, really great. A cohort of 25 students, RCK students, will have the opportunity to participate in an industrial manufacturing technical boot camp. The camp will provide skills to students who will be entering the workforce. This program is being funded through a grant. It was no cost to the district, any money. Thank you, Dr. Carwell, for getting such a grant. As I already stated by Cheryl, all of us are proud of the accomplishing these routes accomplished. In fact, she asked me to mention the names. So here are the names of the wrestlers who really did it. They all did great. But these are 110 pounds. Ryan Fitzpatrick took 4th place from John Jay. 132 pounds, Evan Price, 5th place from John Jay. 137 pounds, Kevin Murphy, also from John Jay. 145 pounds, Matthew Marsh, who took 1st place in session 1 and will be going to the state. 152, Eddie Corcoran, 5th place RCK, and 215, Michael Mauro, 6th place John Jay High School. It is truly remarkable of the dedication and effort these wrestlers put forth in a 3 by 2 minute periods, unless you pin the individual. These guys, I tell you, you have to go and see the dedication that these kids go through. I don't see how they do it. You can see them wrestle for 6 minutes, some for 6 minutes, and to do what they do is beyond comparison. They're fantastic. So congratulations to all the wrestlers for the participating in such a demanding sport, and special thanks to all the coaches, both at John Jay and Ketchum. And of course, they're there. They're crazy. They shout. Cry. It's really, you get emotional seeing these kids and seeing the parents. So I didn't go to the many wrestling matches in the past, but I'll tell you, seeing what these kids go through is really, really something. They have to be rated. They have to be commended. Dr. Bach, you want to say something beforehand?
What's left to be said?
That's all right, Dr. Bach. You always say something.
I do.
You always say something.
Well, I'm going to get to school counseling week, which should be every week based upon the job that they've done, especially now with the return from the pandemic. We've honored our counselors. We appreciate them. We've added counselors over the past couple of years to assist our students that have not returned necessarily in the same manner that they left us prior to the pandemic. So they're doing an exceptional job working with the mental health issues that we see on a regular basis. And it is translated into students coming to school when they should be at school and students achieving the highest that they can achieve because they feel that they're heard and that people care about them and they're willing to help them outside of the normal, regular academic program. And that is so important again now more than ever. I also had an opportunity to attend the Science Olympiad at John Jay High School. The John Jay team did an outstanding job, as did the Roy C. Ketchum team. There were over 20 schools that participated in that event, and I would like to thank the entire faculty and staff and the administration of John Jay High School for hosting that event. I did receive a letter from the Mid-Hudson organization, and they would like to continue to host at John Jay. And again, over 20 schools from the region were there. And with that, I think it's important to, although I won't repeat everything that was said, you heard a common theme here this evening based upon the comments of the Board of Education, and that is providing students with opportunities, some of them non-traditional opportunities, building race cars, Science Olympiad, that's a traditional opportunity, but we are attempting to get our students involved in the life of the school and become part of the school. It's not just a 7:30 to 2:30 opportunity for them to come in and learn academics, which is huge, but also to make them feel part of the school, to build up their self-esteem and get them involved, because studies have shown that those students that are involved tend to do better academically. I want to thank this Board of Education. In the past over 2 years that I've been fortunate to serve as superintendent, this board has made a priority of student opportunities for students. And I know that we're going to see that in the future because we need to provide our students with these types of opportunities to be successful, not only in the classroom, but outside of the classroom. And with that, I think I will now go to the budget presentation.
I just want to make one more comment. I'd be remiss if I did not mention PTSA for the food that they provided at the Science Olympiad. It was exceptional. So
And I missed it.
you had to see the photo.
I can attest to the fact that I did see President Lumia in the line more than once, and I won't go any further than that. I don't know if you want to comment on that. Probably best that you don't. Thank you to the PTSA as well. And thank you to our parents.
They always do a great job. I mean, they have to be commended. And with that being said, 6.01, Superintendent Report, 2023-2024 Preliminary Budget Presentation. Dr. Blanc.
Was it something I said?
This affects you guys. You should stay. This will affect you.
Slide it right through it.
Darren broke it. It's always Darren's fault.
Okay, without any further ado, I would like to take a moment to share with you some information on the proposed preliminary budget for the 23-24 school year. And I need to thank Assistant Superintendent Crandall and the members of the district office senior staff for all of their work in putting together a preliminary plan as to how we expect to proceed as we move through this budget year. So with that, we had mentioned last year we reconnected with our community. This year we're moving forward together. You see the mission of the school district: empower all of our students, competencies, confidence to challenge themselves, pursue their passions, to realize their potential while growing as responsible members of our community. Members of the Board of Education, President John Lumia, Vice President Peggy Kelland, Trustee Marie Johnson, Trustee Keith Odoms, Trustee Michael McFarland, Trustee Eddie A. Sloshower, Trustee Cheryl Miggets, Trustee James Spencer, Trustee John S. Morgan, Senior Staff Administration. We have Mr. Darren Lokema, our Assistant Superintendent for Administration and Information Systems. Dr. Michelle Cardwell, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. Ms. Kristen Dainty. It's Dainty, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is it Crandall Dainty or is it? I just want to make sure I get that right. So that's Kristen Dainty, D-A-I-N-T-Y. Our Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Business Development, as I commonly refer to as the financial guru. And she doesn't like when I say that, but I'm sorry, Miss Dainty. Mr. Richard Zip, Assistant Superintendent, Student Support Services, Accessible Education. Ms. Renee Harris, our Director of Human Resources. Mr. Ron Brois, our Director of Facilities and Operations, and our District Clerk and Secretary to the Superintendent, Ms. Alberta Pedro. So I'd like to thank all of you for your involvement. So just some key terms. Budget. That's how much the district spends. It's a balance of revenue and expenses. Tax levy is the amount received in property taxes. State aid is the amount received from fiscal year 2024 in the New York State enacted state budget, which we hope will be enacted by April 1st. Other revenue is other financial resources that are received at the local level, such as interest earnings. Assigned fund balance is an amount intended for specific use or the assignment for the district to reduce the burden on the taxpayer. 23-24 budget and the current educational climate. As I said, the budget deadline for the state budget from New York State is April 1st. We expect to balance the health and wellness supports for our students and staff as we have for the last 2 years by some of the key positions that we've added in these areas to continue to personalize the educational experience by making sure that we have staffing levels and that we continue to provide those opportunities that you just heard our board speak about for our students. Critically important. Maintain the current program that we have, obviously supporting academics, supporting academic enrichment opportunities, extracurricular activities, and professional development for staff. Teaching has changed not only in the last 7 years or the last 5 years, but the last 3 years. We need the cutting edge technology to be able to provide our students with the best instruction and the best technological instruction as possible. 23-24 budget, what do we know so far? Not a heck of a lot. One thing we do know, and I know that you all know this, the CPI is 8%. It's through the roof. We're all paying more for gas. We're all paying more for food. We're all paying more for everything. So based upon the fact that the consumer price index is 8%, it obviously exceeds the 2% CPI, which means that by 6%, which means that the district will utilize 2% in the tax cap formula. What does it mean? The completion of the tax cap calculation has resulted in a 2.05 maximum allowable tax increase. Last year, for the first time since the tax cap was enacted over 10 years ago, the district presented a recommended budget to the Board of Education that was approved, that went to the taxpayers, that was below the tax cap. This year, as of right now, and I don't expect much change to this, the district has balanced our preliminary budget, and it's very preliminary, using a tax levy increase of 1.85. And if that holds, which I expect it to, again, for the second year in a row, the Wappinger Central School District will be presenting a budget to our community that is below the allowable tax cap by 0.20%, as it states there. So the New York State Governor's executive budget proposal, that's what we're basing this off on. All right. What is the governor proposing? Obviously, it goes to the legislators in Albany and they make some adjustments, they make some tweaks, and they can either support some of the stuff or they can add stuff or they can subtract stuff. But it's our anticipation that we're fairly certain that we're going to be very, very close to the dollar range that we're currently in. So it includes the reinstatement of foundation aid formula. UPK, funding remains stable in this proposal. UPK is here to stay. We've been very successful in our school district. We had UPK last year for the first year. I think we had about 240 students, Dr. Cardwell. We're around 240 again this year. And the response that we've gotten from the kindergarten teachers as to how well prepared socially and emotionally and academically the students that are coming into kindergarten are, because they've gone through that adjustment in UPK, has been extremely, extremely beneficial to their conduct, to their ability to interact with others, and their ability to reach their highest academic potential in kindergarten. So as we said earlier, currently the district is budgeting using the full governor's executive budget proposal. Stay tuned for budget updates at the April 11th board meeting. Hopefully by then we will know exactly what our numbers are. So how do we get to the proposed budget? Well, we've got our mission and our core values. We've got the goals of the Board of Education along with their values. We've had goals of the senior staff, as well as continued discussion and community input. Budget at wcsdny.org. It has been the email for years. If you have any thoughts or any suggestions, this is all of our budgets. This is all our budget. We want to know what you think. What should be in the budget? What do you value? What's maybe something that you don't value, if you value something? That's good for us to know when we make these prioritized lists of what we're going to include. So your input is very important and welcome. Factors and challenges. We are seeing increased classification and the need for services. That has continued since the 2021 school year. And as I have stated before, if we have students that require certain services, it's our responsibility to find a way to provide them, which means expansion of program, expansion of staff. There's no other way around it. We have to support the educational needs of all students, and all means all. Enrollment fluctuation in elementary and secondary. Important to note, our elementary school population is growing this year by over 1%. Our secondary population continues to decrease at around 4%. So overall, the enrollment is still decreasing. But what does that mean? Well, you'll see it in the budget. That means that we need to look at what we're doing in secondary and where can we maybe consolidate, because obviously the population and the enrollment has gone down. We're not talking about any potential cuts of anybody losing their jobs, but where can we consolidate? How can we work smarter? And in elementary, it's going to mean the addition of staff and the addition of program. We have to do it. Our kids deserve it. Tax cap. Well, student health and wellness, I spoke about that. Tax cap, balancing a budget within the tax cap perimeters. As we said, we expect to come in under the 2.05% at about 1.85. That's what we're hoping for Right, Ms. Dainty?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. State aid, developing projected budgets based on the preliminary projections that are historically finalized in the spring. Foundation aid, why the change? Review the New York State calculation for CPI and a change in the district's wealth. One of the things I will share with you is that in the past 10 years, the amount of students that qualify for free or reduced lunch in our school district has increased slightly, but not anywhere near the increase that other districts within Dutchess County have seen. We currently have the second lowest number of students that qualify for free and reduced lunch in Dutchess County. We have to be cognizant of that. And again, that's why it's so important to hear from the community as to what programs do you value? What opportunities do you want to see for your students, for our community? Federal funds, the allocation for non-budgeted pandemic-related expenses, obviously July 20 through 24, those will be sunsetting at the end of next year. And as I mentioned, the change in pupil enrollment in New York State reporting. Developing projected budgets, again, based on feedback, vendors, departmental historical data, municipal input. We do meet with our elected supervisors quarterly to have conversations with them in regards to their needs, and we kind of discuss at a table exactly, how we can continue to work together and not duplicate services, and we've been very successful to that end. Utilizing the forecast and planning tools for information, not yet finalized, debt service rates, health insurance contribution rates, retirement system rate of returns, and again, the consumer price index. The Board of Education budgetary requests for additions to the 23-24 budget based on goals. And remember, those goals that we developed between the board and the district administration and the building administration and the community were very, very similar. So we're all on the same page. Offices and schools, initial local proposals and requests are under review with the senior staff, and we go through those very, very deliberately to make sure that what's being asked is needed, and there needs to be a rationale. And if something is being asked to be added to the budget, it needs a substantial reason as to why. Governance and decision-making, obviously to a final recommended budget. So what's part of the budget? Salaries, contracts, supplies, BOCES, benefits. Where do we go from here? So February the 21st, there will be a recording that will go out on the website called The Budget Process. I know you've seen this before. It will hit on some of the key components of the budget process. February the 27th, which will be the next board meeting, the preliminary budget presentation number 2. Hopefully we'll have more details. Also, there will be the 23-24 vehicle replacement plan presentation. We go a month later to March 27th, and that is when the 23-24 superintendent's recommended budget presentation 1 goes to the board. Maybe by that time we'll have a state aid update, probably not. We probably won't be able to solidify it until the 11th of April, where we'll get the state aid update, and then we'll have budget 2 based upon the final numbers. April 17th, budget adoption. 5/8, community forum, state mandated public hearing on the budget, and then the budget vote is on May 16th. So again, I want to thank the entire community for all of your input, all of your thoughts, all of your suggestions. They're very, very important. We need to know how you feel, and again, what you value. What opportunities and programs do you want for your students through their K-12 experience here in Wappingers? And I also, again, would like to thank members of the senior team, our building administration, and our Board of Education for all of their support and all of the dialogue that we've had in working together so that we can move forward together. And obviously, two key words there, forward and together. And with that, that's my presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Does the board at this time have any questions of the superintendent? Or any comments? Okay, seeing none. 6.02, a Fine Arts and Performing Arts Department presentation, challenging and empowering our students to grow through creative and comprehensive learning. And with that, Mrs. King, you got the floor, or you got the stage, or you got the podium.
I'll take it all. The baton, that's
You
right.
have the baton. Let me
On my
see.
downbeat.
Here, here's the baton.
Just make sure this stays. All righty. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, everybody, for having me. I'm Bonnie King. I'm the Director of Fine and Performing Arts, World Language, and ENL here in the Wappingers District. And I'd just like to thank Dr. Bonk and the board for having me tonight to share the work and of course, the assistant superintendents and my colleagues. I'm very excited. I'm going to try to keep my presentation short, though, because the night is flying. And if you, any of you have met me, you know that I can brag about the talents of our faculty, staff, and all of our students for probably 3 hours before I take a breath. I'm so impressed with the work our kids do every day. So I'm going to give you a little overview and tell you where you can find out more. And of course, I love to talk and connect with folks, so you could always get a hold of me if you want to hear more about what we do. I hope I do this right. All right, there we go. So anyway, our arts curriculum is standards based, it's sequenced, it's planned experiences. When we talk about what we want our students to do, you hear all these wonderful things about connection and about relevance and about making our kids prepared for college and career readiness. We are doing that in the arts as well, because we understand that if our students are going to be competitive, they need to be creative. And that means they need to be able to think in different ways, and what better way to develop those skills than in the arts. So we're talking about this race car design we heard about. Well, design is going to be a part of that. So it's all related, and I just love the fact that we are a part of a district that really gets the whole child and understands that these planned experiences all relate and help our kids just grow and achieve proficiency. So our K through 8 opportunities, we have band and orchestra and chorus available for our students. 4th grade for the chorus, 5th and 6th grade for chorus as well. Our instrumental program begins in 5th grade, but we begin some of the instrumental work in 4th grade with just learning how to handle the recorder, and that works on the embouchure, things like that. All of our students receive music from pre-K to the best of our ability, but kindergarten through 6th grade. And as they progress, there are opportunities, for example, to go to Olympics of the Visual Arts, where they're able to work on creative and innovative art projects in an adjudicated setting. So we're already letting them out there to work together. And we have 3 teams going. And what I love about that is we'll have teams going from the elementary school and the high school this year, so the little kids and the big kids will get to learn from each other. 100% participation in the annual Festival of the Arts as well on the elementary level. Up through 8th grade, the model changes a little bit. Our kids begin to rotate. So in 7th and 8th grade, they do the 10-week model for general education, general music, but there's also band, chorus, and orchestra on the every other day available. 100% of our students, K through 8, though, are participating in their school year in music or in art. What's also exciting is that we also begin our musical program, and I just love that it is very rare. In fact, I can't even think of a time I've gone to a concert or a musical or some other arts event and have not bumped into one of you all board members or central office staff. The support's incredible, and I love that they enjoy the art so much. Our theater and dance is also represented, K through 8 as well, and it's really exciting. We've got jazz ensembles, drama productions, and these kids grow literally from coming in as little tiny babies, learning to find their singing voice and the steady beat, all the way up to some really cool things I'm going to show you at the very end. Senior high opportunities is where the rubber hits the road. 22 art courses, 15 performing arts courses, and we do everything from general music, where you can come in, learn some keyboard, learn some ukulele, all the way through advanced placement art or advanced placement music theory. Very exciting opportunities, but this is where our kids really get an opportunity to show their stuff. They could take any number of opportunities of playing instruments, playing a secondary instrument, performing, composing, performing in adjudicated settings. They go to states. We had a number of students, one of the largest groups of students going to states, New York State School Music Association. And this year we were also one of the only districts in the county. We have 2 students going to All Eastern from Ketchum and 2 students from Jay going to what's called NSBDA, which is a brass symposium for your most excellent brass students. So we have surpassed states, again, because of such a robust program. It is not uncommon for our students to tour every year, whether they're touring in Florida. We are playing at the Basilica in Montreal this year. We have worked with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. We'll be up in Boston. You name it, we will be there. We have after-school jazz ensembles, pit ensembles, student-led groups, composers, multiple productions during the years. Even back years and years ago, when I was teaching choral music at John Jay, a concert season is pretty much no less than 10 to 11 performances a year. So this is not your mom and dad's chorus experience anymore, or band or orchestra. These are living, breathing seasons, and our kids are being prepared to get out there and do the cool things I'm going to show you at the end. So scheduling, we have something for everyone. I'm not even going to begin to read this down to you, but I'm going to tell you, if you like ceramics, you like digital art, you like playing brass instruments, you like theory, you like guitar, you like rock and roll, you like jazz, we have got it for you. And anything I didn't mention just briefly, we've got that too. I can tell you we've got it. So what do they learn? What do they actually learn? To create, to respond, to present, and to connect. Remember that the arts are not just the disciplines of dance, media, music, theater, and visual, but they are the documentarians. They are the voice, the historians, and the thinkers of society. Everything we have, you can tell the basis of a society based on the art that it produces. And you have to remember, art is huge. It's not just the ideas, the visual art, it's the dance, it's the expression, it's the connection. Who are we? What are we made of? And what is important to us? It comes out through these kids each and every day. We are about enduring understandings. Why did this artist pick this music? How did this music influence this culture or this social justice movement? We have those conversations every day. Student voice and choice is also huge. Again, we say there's something for everyone here, but it's because the kids bring that up to us, and we make sure that they get what they need. We make sure that they have that voice. Also, I just want to touch on the equitable and inclusiveness. We've gone through our materials. We've gone through our music library to make sure that all voices and all walks of life are represented. We make sure that our composers do cover people from the LGBT plus QIA community, or from the African American community, or from the any Native American community, women composers. We want to make sure our kids have access to everything, and I'm really proud of that work. 100% of the 4th grade chorus, a little program data, and this will be available online, is in chorus. 30% of 5th and 6th grade is in chorus. Our 5th grade orchestra and band, also about 30%. 100% of K-8, as I said, receives art and music. What's really exciting, and I'm not going to make you show these trends and all this, but this is available online if you really want to look at some cool spreadsheets, is we have had growth in every single ensemble booming growth, and we project to have more growth moving forward, about 23% per year. The only ensemble that didn't grow was 8th grade. I think that was a gap due to COVID, but they're projected to grow again next year. High school course enrollment, it depends on which ensemble, but I will tell you about 41%. That 48's adjusted. I would say Ketchum's about 42%, and Ketchum's about 46%, Jay's about 42%. So almost half of our students are enrolled in the arts in our high schools. And again, those numbers just a little bit because, like Dr. Bonk said, the enrollment's declining a little bit, but with this boom coming up, it's also growing. So there you have it. Even 30% of our students now are enrolled in art courses at Orchard View, and we have a grand piano there. So now we have a grand piano in every secondary setting, baby grand or grand piano, depending on the space. There are pianos in every school. And what I really love is that my number is wrong up there on the second line. WCSD is probably going to present more than 10,000 pieces of work at the Festival of the Arts this year. We will send or have sent hundreds of students' work. We just cleaned house at Scholastic. Our students took Gold Key, which is like the states in art at SUNY New Paltz. I'll be tweeting that and sharing it everywhere. And yes, we'll perform more than 100 concerts and community events and drama productions this year. We have 54 ensembles. How could we not? And again, that music library I referred to is turning into a big deal. We hold about 6,000 titles, 400,000 copies of music. So we're experimenting with ways that other subjects could then look and understand maybe some societal things through the music. So what's the big deal about this? We provide amazing opportunities for students to go into science, medicine, math, sports. There is creativity in everything. Don't get me started. But if you want to find out where some of our music people went, here's some cool stuff. BSO, Boston Symphony Orchestra, one of the great 5 orchestras, one of the big ones, right? Keith Lockhart was at Royce Ketchum. He's their conductor. If I roll over it, will it do? Well, you'll open these up. If you've been to Broadway and you saw Frozen, you probably saw Patty Murin from John Jay. If you've been to Broadway and you see that little face from Gayhead, who was saying the thing about Gayhead kids coming up? Well, little Jack DeFalco went all the way from Gayhead to Broadway and then to Daredevil on TV. If you saw that fantastic piece of work with Mark Ruffalo, or if you got stuck in the parking lot where the old Babies R Us are while they were filming, this much I know to be true. RCK's Brendan Lynch worked on that. And then there's an amazing thing. Chris Petruccio's doing some fantastic just filming work and advertising work on YouTube. You should definitely check him out. A lot of racing car commercials. You probably have seen some of his commercials on TV. So that's just a little bit of what we do in the arts. So you could celebrate with us in March for Music is Our Schools Month and Youth Art Month. And again, without the support of the board and the talent of the faculty and staff and the love and support of the parents and the incredible brilliance of our students, we wouldn't be here. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
How many minutes did I do?
I hope that was 10 minutes.
Mrs. King,
Yes. And
thank you for your presentation.
my pleasure.
And I must say that we have the best program, as far as I'm concerned, in the state of New York.
Yes, we do.
And
Yeah,
there's-
and I'm on the stage.
I've not been to a
Yeah.
performance which I really don't enjoy.
I agree.
And they start music, for example, they start the 5th grade where they have a tough time. And they progress incredibly to the point where I consider them professionals.
Yes.
Thank you to the teachers and to their dedication. So thank you for your presentation.
Thank
you. And Marie.
I would like to say, as somebody that was able to hit a lot of those concerts so far in the winter, first of all, it was an honor to watch these kids. And there was quite a few times during both high schools, not just one, both high schools, during their big winter concerts that it literally brought me to tears on some of the performances. They were so amazing that they gave me chills. And it started with the younger kids. I was able to see it in the elementary and going into the junior high. And by the time they hit high school, it literally brought chills to me. And the art, just seeing what they do at the Festival of Arts, I can't wait because that's one of my favorite times. So thank you, and thank the instructors and the parents and all the students.
Cheryl.
I'd like to also point out how much the program is inspiring some of our students. I can't tell you how many recent graduates I know over the past 6 or 7 years who've gone on to major in the arts in college, including some drama students we have out in Buffalo right now and down in New York City. And I do want to point out you did miss one of our notable graduates from our arts program.
Do tell. There's so many.
DB Woodside.
Oh, yes. It's exciting. It's exciting. And I would say that it's reciprocal. They inspire us.
Mr. Morgan?
Thank you, President Lumia. Director King, I'm gonna ask the question with the preface. Could you give me a brief overview? Now, I understand, because sometimes I ask that question of somebody else.
Sure.
And I don't get a brief answer, but could you give us a brief overview of how the rollout for Pep Band is going at our 2 high schools?
Oh, I'm so glad I didn't get to talk about that. The Pep Band has been a wild success. I was really excited, and I have to say it was because it came with the right support, so thank you, and the right planning. The teachers and I met. We talked about what does this need to be, and having one at each of the high schools has been wildly successful. We probably had about 40 kids come out at each one, a real steady group. They are building their skills. They are playing better and better at each performance. And what that means is not that they can't come out and play like, I don't know, a fun piece, right? They have to learn the timing of the game. They have to learn like when to play. It's an entire new world of conversation. But to see these kids be a part of their school community and get to contribute is really inspiring. And it's gaining momentum, and they're working on varsity letters, and they're making plans for next year already. Hopefully we'll do some side-by-sides with some local marching bands. We have liftoff. That's the way I could say it. And we're just going to keep going. So thank you. I'm super excited about that project.
I'd like to see you work on your passion a little bit the next
I
time you
know.
come back.
It's so
Thank you
boring,
very
and I
much.
talk so slow. It's awful.
Any other comments? Eddie?
Just for all my fellow board members, if you do make budget requests, they do get put through. So, and if you don't succeed the first time,
let us know.
Resubmit the budget request a second time, well, and it gets done. So thank you, Dr. Bonk, and thank you, Director King.
Well, Director King deserves the credit for it. You've done an absolutely phenomenal job, you and your team and all of our staff, the students involved in the program, the teachers, the parents. Again, you do a wonderful job. And again, we talked about opportunities. There are some phenomenal opportunities that are not offered in every school district. We are very proud to offer them here because of the dividend that it pays for our students. And those individuals that have been very successful in that area are a shining example of just some of the ones that we know. So thank you.
Any other
Thank
comments?
Thank you.
7.01, consent agenda resolution. Does anyone want to remove anything from consent agenda? John?
Actually, I don't want to remove anything, but I do want to make a brief comment on item 707, if that's
Just
acceptable.
wait until after you can make the brief comment afterwards.
Okay, thank you.
Motion. Marie, second, Keith.
Resolved that the Board of Education does, oops. It didn't go on the first. Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the following consent agenda items as stated. 7.02, 7.03, and addendum, 7.04, 7.05, 7.06, 7.07, 7.08, 7.09, 7.10, 7.11, and 7.12.
Motion. First, let's approve it, then we'll give a discussion. If there's no discussion, just make a comment. So any, all in favor? Unanimous. Now, John, you can make your comment if you like.
Thank you, President Lumia. I just wanted to point out that while it's disappointing that we have approximately 45 students that haven't to this point received preschool special education services. I want to commend our leadership in stepping forward to assist the county in fulfilling its responsibilities and making sure that our students get the services that they need before they enter kindergarten, so that they're not entering kindergarten with a leg down, so to speak. So thank you to our leadership, and I'm glad that we're going to step forward and assist those students, which is what we're here to do.
Thank you for that comment, John. 8.01, approval of new charters.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the new club charters for the Rho Kappa National Social Studies Honor Society at Roy C. Ketchum High School and the Civics Club at Van Wyck Junior High School as submitted.
Motion, Peggy, second, Cheryl. All in favor? Aye.
Can I speak to?
Dr. Bonk would like to speak on that, so Dr. Bonk, make it short.
Well, needless to say, two excellent opportunities, but I do want to talk about the civics organization at Van Wyck Junior High School. This is absolutely phenomenal. This whole thing came about based upon a meeting with a Van Wyck student, Dr. Shukat, Assemblyman Beefin, myself, and the students' parents to talk about potentially having a club at the middle level involved in civics and getting involved in communities and schools and things of that nature. And we're working with the civics clubs that are in operation at the high schools, and it can lead to a civic seal of biliteracy, and it's just a phenomenal opportunity, and I want to thank the Board of Education for their support. I also want to thank the student for coming forward with such strong passion to be involved. And, I'm a big fan of a civics curriculum. I think we need civics. I think now we need it more than ever, and I think this is a great start in the middle school. So I'd like to thank Dr. Shukat and the student and Assemblyman Beefin for participating in our meeting, and look forward to some great things from this organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bonk, for such brief remarks. 8.02, process for nominating the BOCES Board of Education. Just a comment. As you know, there are numerous people who put their name in to run for the Board of Education at BOCES. There are 2 individuals. We got 3 individuals. We can nominate anybody we want. We cannot nominate a person from our board because there's already a person on that particular board from Wapages. You can nominate anybody from the community at the next board meeting. And at this time, it just let you be aware that there are 2 people who are already on the board running, and we got, I think, a letter from another individual, a resume, which I read. Hopefully everybody is done. But again, we can nominate anybody we want, so which we'll do at the next board meeting. Any questions? All right, seeing none. 8.03, for third reading of adoption policy.
Resolved that the Board of Education of the Wappinger Central School District hereby approves the third reading of, and adopts the following policy based upon the first reading by the board and the recommendation of the policy committee as stated.
Motion, Marie, second. Peggy, all those in favor? Unanimous. 8.04, first reading of policies. Silent reading. Once again, there are lots of policies there. I recommend the community to look at those particular policies. If you have any comments, please address them to our chairperson, Peggy Kellen. Marie, you have a comment?
Yes. First of all, thank you, Ms. Kellen, for running the policy committee. I just wanted to point out that on the first reading, there's quite a few on here, but we actually added several others because in the process of this, we went back and we looked at all the policies that were attached to the ones that we were currently reviewing on our 3-year process. And we were able to make sure that those all became in line with each other with all of their language. So we added those also onto this first reading. It was actually only about half of that list, and we added several others on based on that fact. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Marie. 9.01, board members may request additional agenda items. Are there any items that you want to add to the agenda? Seeing none. 10.01, comments from the public. Is there anyone from the public who would like to make a comment? Okay, seeing none. Somebody make a motion to adjourn? Everybody's hand went up. Cheryl's first, Marie second. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody. Both stay in.